Well, if you have funds from criminal activity, you can't just go and use them. They might be able to trace it back to you. So they go through this money laundering process, and every scheme, and there's lots of ways to launder money. In fact, there's professional money launderers who are out there who know our systems, they know the laws, and they're very good at what they do. But every one of these schemes, they have three basic steps. Okay, the first step is placement. That is getting the funds into the financial system. So if you have cash from a drug sale or proceeds from your human trafficking endeavors or organized crime or whatever you're doing, you want to get the cash or the money into the financial system without setting off any alarm bells. Okay, so for instance, if I have some cash, I want to get it in there, but I don't want my bank or my financial institution telling the federal government what I'm doing with my money. There's nothing criminals hate worse than their financial institution telling the federal government what they're doing with their money. So a little bit later, we're going to talk about things like CTRs or currency transaction reports. That's what they're trying to avoid in this placement side. They're getting the cash into the system, and there are no CTRs, there's no SARs being filed, and nobody really understands where that money's coming from. Okay. Placement. The next step is called layering. Layering is where they move the money around. Maybe they're moving it between financial institutions or between different accounts. Maybe they're running it through a business and cooking the books, so to speak, where they have a business and they're infusing some of these criminal proceeds into the company and washing it that way. Sometimes they're taking out loans and they're using proceeds that and they take out the loan just so they can move the money around and make it difficult to understand where those funds actually came from. So that layering process is kind of like a shell game. You move the money around, and pretty soon it becomes very unclear where it came from in the first place. And then that final step is integration. That's where you have the money, it's in an account or it's somewhere, and it looks like it came from some legitimate source. Okay, then you can use it for whatever you want. You can use your ill-gotten gains, and you can go out and you can buy that Ferrari, or you can go out and you can buy property. But it's integrated into the system because it looks legitimate. And those are the three basic steps. And there are lots of ways to accomplish this. And lending is one of the ways that they do it. They're moving funds through a loan product, and then it looks like it's legitimate. It's oftentimes a platform for money laundering. And here's the thing. We are in a very unique position to catch some of this. That's why we have to get this training. That's why we have to understand what we should be on the lookout for. And here's the other thing. You don't have to crack the case. Okay, you don't have to know and figure out the complicated money laundering scheme that's going on. All you need to do is be on the lookout for things that don't make sense. Okay, because maybe nobody's told you this, but you are a vital part of your BSA AML program. You're a professional. You work in the financial industry. You deal with your customers on a day-to-day basis. You ask questions. You know how all of this works. You're a human barometer. And when you have a gut feeling that something just doesn't seem right or something doesn't make sense, use that. That's an important part of the process. If you see something that doesn't make sense or just doesn't sit well with you, be empowered to ask questions, follow up with it, make it make sense. And if it doesn't, and if you ask the questions and things are still not making sense, know who you reach out to your BSA officer or your manager and let them know, look, I found something here and it's just not sitting right with me and it doesn't make sense. There's no logic to it. That's the type of thing that can feed into a suspicious suspicious activity investigation. And it leads to catching some of this activity. So we're on the lookout for this unusual activity, and you are in a very unique position to actually do this because you're on the front lines. You're talking to your customers. You're gathering information. When an applicant comes in and starts talking to you, you are getting most of the information about that particular relationship. You just need to know also that part of your responsibility is to be on the lookout for suspicious activity.